Hello everybody! Today we're going to be talking about the Hornby Santa's Express train set. With Christmas coming, we figured that this would be a good time to show this. We bought this on Amazon back in 2022 for about $99. I think it was like $99.64 actually. I think it still goes for about that same price. Well, I mentioned that this came as a train set. We actually only have what's in front of you right now, the engine and two cars. This is an OO scale, so it runs on the HO track, so we tend to run it on the our HO layout. And we already have like Bachmann transformers and things like that. So we actually gave the track and the transformer that came with the Hornby set. I think we just gave that to Savers or something like that since we didn't really need it. So today we'll just be talking about the engine and the two cars. So with that, let's take a detailed look. Alright, so first up we're going to look at the Boxcar. This Boxcar is all plastic construction, including the wheels. It's about 5.5 inches long from coupler tip to coupler tip, and those are hook and loop couplers. The hooks are a little bit offset so that they line up side by side when they couple with the car or locomotive in front of it. So as you can see, it's the paint scheme is pretty simple. It's got black framework down here and mechanics and wheels and all that stuff, hook and loop coupler, buffers, and a black roof. And then the body of the car is a yellow with red text saying Santa's Sleigh in Transit and a red graphic with Santa's Sleigh on the side. And hypothetically, this train is hauling Santa's sleigh somewhere. We're not sure, but yeah. So there's a little bit of detail on the side here. These are single axle trucks here. It's got a little bit of detail here as far as the brake mechanisms and things like that. So for an inexpensive train, it's got a fair amount of detail on it. None of the parts move. You got the doors here, they don't open. This is all just kind of static as far as detail goes. So let's give it a spin. Okay, so here's the end. You can see the roof is actually one of those kind of curved roofs that we're used to seeing in kind of the UK and European rolling stock. But the end has some bracing, a little airline or something along that lines here down at the bottom. Again, pair of buffers and a hook and loop coupler. It's all straight up black. There's no sophisticated paint scheme here or anything like that. It's all the color of the plastic itself, which in this case is black along the bottom and yellow for the body. Continue along. Okay, so this side is just a mirror image of the opposite side, so there's not too much to talk about here. Kind of double doors in the center located double doors that are just stamped into or molded into the plastic. They're non-functional. So yeah, let's keep going. So the last side here, again, mirror image of the opposite end. You get some bracing, vertical bracing, little mock airline or some mechanic there, and then double buffers, hook and loop coupler. You can see the coupler here, like I said, is a little bit offset. The other coupler kind of lines up beside it. And as we come around, all right, let's take a look at the top and the bottom. Yeah, so like I said before, this is one of a curved roof here, kind of a shallow arch, or yeah, shallow arch. There's some ribbing across the top of the roof here. There's no real detail, like no raised bolt work or anything like that, like you might see on some of the more expensive rolling stock. But yeah, not bad. And underneath, let's check out the bottom. So the bottom doesn't have much detail at all. You can see the single axle trucks here. And then you can just see it's just a plastic frame, really, not representative of what you might see underneath a real boxcar like this. There's the Hornby logoing down there, and then I can't get my pointer in there, but that's all hollow up in there. So, okay, let's give it one final spin. All right, perfect. Let's move on. All right, next up is the gondola that is loaded with presents for Christmas. So this is basically a 7-plank gondola, similar to the troublesome trucks you might see on the in the Thomas collections. But it's got a fair amount of detail here. There's some diagonal bracing and some vertical bracing there. Again, this is all plastic, all the way through, including the wheels. Fair amount of detail down here, and same as the Boxcar. It's a little shorter than the Boxcar. This one here might be about 4 inches, coupler tip to coupler tip. But yeah, fair amount of detail. You can see the braking, suspension, things like that, but it's all static. It's all just molded into the plastic. There's no kind of moving detail, as it were. Hook and loop couplers, if I didn't mention it. The gondola body itself is a blue color stamped with the North Pole and kind of a gold paint, and then you can see some holly and bells as a graphic on the side. Now here you can actually remove the cargo out of this. So if you go ahead and move that or remove that, we can show them. Yeah, so that just comes right out. So if you didn't like that, you could pull it out and fill the gondola with something else. Let's take a look inside the gondola. If you pulled that cargo out, you can see the gondola still has a fair amount of detail, the planking on the bottom. And let's tilt it up and see if we can see the inside of the sidewall. Yeah, the inside of the sidewall has the planking detail as well. So, yeah, so it's not bad for kind of an inexpensive train. Put the cargo back in. And let's take it for a spin. As we move around, again, if you're familiar with the Thomas collection, these are very similar to, any of the Sodor open wagons. So you get some vertical bracing here, the corner bracing, even though it's all molded into the same color. You get a little bit of raised bolt head detail here. Pair of buffers. Again, the black framework underneath, and then the planking body of the gondola is in blue. So I'll continue around. Yeah, again, this side here is a mirror image of the opposite side, so I won't go through that description again, but, the North Pole and the bell and the holly kind of carries to the other side. And there's the other end. It's a mirror image of the opposite end. Let's take a look at the bottom and see if there's anything interesting on the bottom to see. Okay, so the bottom doesn't have bad detail here. We got a lot of iron framework here. There's a couple of mechanics under here. I'm not exactly sure what all those would have done in real life, but yeah, not bad. You look underneath and there's a little bit of detail there. All right, let's give it one more quick spin. All right, looks good. Okay, moving on to the locomotive. So just kind of looking at it from afar here, this seems to be a side tank style locomotive. It's obviously red in color with some black decking and black framework down below. There's a little black coloration at the tip of, or at the end of the boiler, with a little brass paint trim up there at the top of the smokestack. And it says Santa Express on the side in gold lettering with a little black and gold pinstriping framework around that. And then the engine number is 012. And there's a little bit of, kind of mock brass piping up there just above the signage. There's a kind of a mid dome here, mid-length dome. And then the whistles right there. There's a couple of handholds here for the driver to get into the cab, painted in gold, and a little step-up ladder there. Yeah, this doesn't really have bad detail on it. The wheels are metal, and then you see the linkage here, the armature or the link, the arms are metal. Those look pretty good. Hook and loop couplers, both front and back. And what do we say? It's about 5 inches from tip of coupler to tip of coupler. All right, let's give it a turn. Okay, looking at the front, you can see here, we get a couple of, starting from the back moving forward, we got a couple of porthole windows way in the back, and then a couple of viewing windows here on the edge. We got the boiler up front with a little hatch and hinge kind of molded into the frame here, molded into the boiler front. We have the black decking on top, a little bit of pipe work along the top of the boiler that arches over. Pair of buffers. Now these are a little bit more detailed than the cars. The bumper itself is a red color, and then the tips of the buffers are painted black, which is kind of nice. And there's a little hook and a little, looks like an airline or something like that might be up front there. Yeah, looks pretty good. So let's continue around. Okay, this side here, mirror image of the other side. Santa Express written on or painted onto the side of the locomotive. It's got the locomotive number 012, and again, just a lot of the same detail from the opposite side. Let's continue around. Yeah, so in the back here, we have the kind of the arched cab roof that you can see. We have the coal bunker right behind the cab. Airline here, some other kind of details here on the back. I'm not exactly sure what those would be, but I'm sure they have some kind of purpose in real life. Red bumper with the buffer tips painted black, hook and loop coupler. And I don't know if we can zoom in, or maybe, Evan, if you can hold that close to the lens and see if we can focus in. The inside of the cab actually has a little bit of detail there. Yeah, there's a little, there's some mechanics up there, the typical stuff you would see in a steam engine, the boiler, fire door and all that stuff, and some, what looks like some latch work and things like that. So, yeah, not too bad as far as the detail goes on this. And let's finish her up. All right, great. Let's take a quick look at the top and the bottom. So looking at it from above, we've got probably somewhat little hatchwork here on the top of the tanks. Again, the dome kind of midships, as they might say. A couple of whistles here, and then the smokestack, and then the curved roof. And the roof has some raised bolt work there, which looks kind of nice. And then we've got the fake coal in the coal bunker. So yeah, the top looks pretty good. This engine looks pretty good, actually, as far as the detail goes. Let's flip it over, look at the bottom. Yeah, I think this is pretty typical of what you would see here. You can see inside some of the, some of the model's mechanics as far as the engine goes and things like, or the motor goes and things like that up there. Linkage, metal wheels, and then Hornby logo underneath. But there's no real kind of, detail, for the locomotive itself. It's all what you would typically see under a fairly inexpensive locomotive of this size. All right, let's put it up and give it one more spin. All right, so there you have it, the Hornby Santa's Express train set. minus the transformer and the track. Since we explained earlier, we had given that away since we didn't really need it. Yeah, so let's go take it out on the layout and see how it runs.